What if I told you I know the one way that we can grow the sport of CrossFit? I bet you can figure it out. Let's talk about it now.
Love the chase and the hunt, and I set the pace when I'm running. I always take what I want and I always give it 100. Don't need a bank, no I'm funded. Play the game like it's nothing. I'm always thankful for something. Don't take for granted, stay humble. Now wake up, it's time to look at the enemy. Look in the mirror if he is no friend to me.
What is going on, everybody? Welcome to lunchtime. It's time to have lunch with my friends. We got Corey in the chat. We've got Jess. What is going on, guys? So good to hang out with you today. Corey says, time to test Scott's internet. Well, internet is fine, but my laptop is not good. Might be fried. I have an appointment to see somebody tonight to look at it, but for some reason it will not connect to the internet and stay connected. So that's my night tonight, is taking my laptop over to the PC doctor and see if we can get it up and running again. But right now I'm on an iPad. At least I can see the comments this way. I can stay horizontal for Joseph. I can do all those things. But right now, just glad to be able to hang out with all of you all. And got Jake in the chat, got Jody, got Craig, Frida, Vicky. You're not late. We just got started. Jess says, that's no good. Hey, at least it's not my internet and stuff going on in my house. Maybe it's just a quick fix of my laptop, because everything else seems to be working okay with my laptop. It's just it won't connect to the internet. So hopefully, I did a full reset of my laptop overnight. Got wiped everything off of it, started fresh from scratch with the factory settings, and yeah. Jake. No, I did not try to take it where Hunter Biden took his. So anyway, Vicky, I feel your pain. I've been fighting with audio issues all day. Is Mercury in retrograde? I would not even know. I wouldn't know. Joseph says, I'm still running AOL. I'm not running AOL. I've got fiber optic cable internet. The internet is fine. It is... my laptop is smoked, but I have my iPad today. So at least for you, I can be horizontal and still see the chat this way. So, but I hate being like this close to the screen, but it's the only way. I have to use the touch screen to get the comments over. So here we are. So what is up, everyone? It was announced yesterday that Haley Adams is withdrawing from the final WFP stop in Copenhagen, or the finals, which is wild because she has not participated in a single event after being assigned pro athlete. These are some of the issues that I think are facing the WFP, and I say they have a PR problem. When you have assigned pro athlete, with the following that Haley Adams has, and she doesn't attend a single tour stop, it's not a good look for your league at all. And so, and this is not, before you all come at me from the WFP side, this is not a smear campaign. This is just saying it's a PR issue that has to be dealt with. And in addition to Haley, we have Victor Hoffer, who is withdrawing due to an injury. And when he was signed, we were all saying, like, we couldn't believe that he was one of the athletes picked, because when has he been healthy to compete at any event in any of the CrossFit seasons or other seasons? So he's out, Haley's out. I think these are things that are facing the WFP that they never expected. You have Dallin Pepper with Rhabdo, and now John Wood is coming out saying that there's just too many competitions in a season and it's pushing athletes to the limit. I don't necessarily agree with that. Been chatting with the ladies over the last 24 hours on that, and we're going to get into that a lot more on Sunday night. Carolyn has some pretty strong thoughts on why the rhabdo, what's happening to the athletes, are they truly beat up, all of that stuff. We'll talk about that on Sunday night for sure. I hate that YouTube has switched off names. NLEMOO says, I think something deeper is going on with Haley. Not related to WFP. She didn't perform well at the games, and we haven't seen her compete anywhere else lately either. I'm not sure it's something deeper. I think that there were promises made at the beginning that really haven't come to fruition with the WFP. I think that truly what's happened is she's prioritized her season. She's looked at the events that are out there. She's looked at, she started to participate in the game season, and maybe she thought that was just enough for her, and that's why she decided not to do anything else. I'm not sure if it's anything deeper than that. By all accounts, on everything you've seen, she's just happy now, and maybe competing in CrossFit has dropped down a peg or two on the priority list. Emma McQuaid hasn't done any either, by the way. Smaller name than Haley, but still a signed pro, isn't she? She is, but I don't think that. I think that was announced earlier. I think, and it's been due to injury. But she had announced she had a pretty bad injury going into this season, which surprised me why the WFP would then sign her if she had that injury, and they weren't sure she was going to make it through the season anyway. So Joseph has strong thoughts. He is out on the WFP, and he says the WFP is imploding. I just think it's a bad look, and they have to figure it out. I don't know, and it's a PR nightmare for them that they have to deal with all of this in addition to trying to run a competition. So, well, Corey says the WFP, nothing they do surprises him at this point. Well, I don't think they did anything. They're just announcing that athletes are withdrawing. That's not an action they've taken. It's just something happening to them. It's how do they deal with that moving forward. So I don't know. Frida says next 2 to 3 months will be interesting. I agree. And what's interesting about this, and it's a nice segue, is I just watched the Caity Henniger interview with Coffee Pods and Wods this morning. When you listen to her, you can tell that their focus at Rogue is to treat the athletes the way she wanted to be treated when she was an athlete. And that's just the way they do things. That's the way, that's part of their ethos, right? And we heard a lot of that with WFP, but take a look at how the athletes are treated at Rogue and their enthusiasm to go to Rogue and how they feel about Rogue. when you hear WFP saying the same things, that they want to be for the athletes, that they want to treat the athletes well, they want to give athletes opportunities, you don't hear the athletes responding in the same positive way that they do with Rogue. And when you hear Caity talking about like what a handshake means to her, and when you make a handshake with somebody and you tell them you're going to do something, then you do it. That's how she was raised. That's how she moves through life. That's how she just is. That's part of the fabric of her being. And I think that's the piece that WFP has missed. They did a handshake with people promising them X, and they gave them Y. And when Rogue promised something, they delivered. But I find it interesting that, like, Rogue kind of did all of this stuff first. Now, they show up, they take care of the athletes, they pay for their way, they give them a stipend to get there, they give them cool gifts when they get there. They make it a competition that highlights them, and it just was just thinking about it in retrospect. What Rogue has pulled off, I think, is what WFP wanted to pull off, but they just never came close to doing it. Corey Leonard, I'm assuming they don't have a plan in place to deal with it, because I'm willing they bet they thought Haley's situation would never happen. Well, they've backfilled her position. Elena Caratalis got the backfill. So there's that. But I don't think they've done anything to talk about the PR aspect of it. Lido, Rogue grew a lot more organically. I feel they never announced what their goal was unless specifically asked. They also have one event. They have one event. You say that, but they here's the difference, right? Rogue is there for everyone else. Rogue is a fabric of the community. Rogue doesn't have one event. They host one event that has their title on it, but they outfit the games. They outfit strongman all over the world. When you listen to Caity talk about that they were packing up the games, and in the meantime, at the very same time, they were packing cargo ships or cargo crates to go on ships to send equipment over to Scotland for their event. They are a part of every event, and they're a part of the fabric, and that's why they're more successful, because they're more in touch with what's going on. When Caity was asked by Peter if she watches other events, she's like, how would I not? One, I'm a fan of the sport. Two, how do I learn if I don't have an open mind to what other people are doing? Like, all those things were jaw-dropping because of the answers other people have given to those same questions. And so that's the difference. If Rogue wanted to pull off 3 events, they could pull off 3 events. They're just choosing not to. Craig is saying, is Rogue doing premium viewing again this year? They are. It's actually being hosted by Zach Tellender. He's going to be hosting it this year. They are going to have the enhanced camera that you can move around from lane to lane. I get it every year. It is so worth it because you can move the camera. You can look for every athlete on the floor. It is one of the coolest innovations that has come out in the sport. Frida, yeah, and because it is invite only, it means more focus on the athletes as well. Right, and they do limit it to 20 athletes on each side because they know that's what they can handle. It is, it's actually putting a business plan together and following it. That's why. Um, Hector, the other difference is that Rogue knows their place and really don't want to take the game's place. Right. You know where they stand, you know what they're doing, and they are there to support the games as well. Corey just looked at their valuation, supposedly took in 250 million. If they wanted to host 3 events, they could host 3 events. I think though the effort they put into it, they know this is what they can do at 100%, and they probably don't want to go more than that. They don't want to be the WFP. They don't want to compete on seasons. They want to do their thing. And the other thing they're doing, like I'll admit, I am biased to Rogue. They are here in Columbus. We are proud of what they do. They are great for this city, and they're adding on to their facility because they have 4 locations in Columbus. They had 5. They consolidated to 1. They grew so much that they had 4 buildings again, and now they're adding on to consolidate back to 1 again. It's such an amazing place, and we are so lucky to have them here. Vicky, I agree. The video setup is awesome and amazing. Craig, he's purchased it every year as well. Yeah, if you're not purchasing that for $25, like you're missing out. It's so good. Corey, I would 100% work for Rogue. I've never heard a bad story about them. Well, I live here, so I have heard bad stories, but generally it is like they expect a lot. And if you're not willing to put in that work like they do, they are that's not in their ethos to not work hard. If you're not going to go in there and work hard, you're going to hear about it. Don't forget, Scott Will said he and the team will be getting a WFP HQ soon. They plan to do for that what Rogue has done for Ohio. Interesting. I would love to see that. Not going to happen. And someone may be obsessed. I may have to purchase it just so I can watch Colton the entire time. Yeah, it is a really cool. When they added the movable camera last year to the stream, and you could move the camera to whatever lane you wanted and watch whatever you wanted, they had me at hello on that one, man. Joseph Ramirez, they're going to build their HQ in Argentina. So I'm assuming that that's what all these trips around the world have been, to recruit and to find the location of their new HQ, whether it should be in Hawaii or Monaco or Spain or Germany, wherever they're going. Yeah, what is more likely, WFP finding an HQ or Frank having 10,000 affiliates at his beck and call? Flip a coin. So the other thing I want to talk about real quick is my Monday show is in peril. I've been scheduled for a meeting at lunchtime even though I blocked that off on my calendar. Hate that. So I either am going to go at 1 or just cancel the show. Let me know what your thoughts in the chat. So the other thing I want to talk about, Caity said, is the leaks and how she handles them and how she looks at them. What I find amazing is, like Peter said, I didn't even know you had other people test other than Josh and Chris. Well, our very own Carolyn Prevost has tested for Rogue in the past 2 years. When she tests for Rogue, she doesn't even tell us until after the fact. So she was a tester for Rogue in 2023 and 2024, testing workouts for Rogue. And she has come to Columbus and never even told me she was here, and then back out. But they are so adamant about the leakage. And Hiller was even brought up in that conversation that when he does find the leak, he figures, I need to tell the world so everybody has a fair shake. Caity said, I agree with that. If we find out that there's a leak, we will tell all the athletes at that time, whatever that leak is. And I love the way that she handled that and that she looks at that. And it just shows why they're so successful and why Rogue is looked at as a premier event by the athletes to go to. So I thought that was cool. The next thing I want to talk about, I've said on the show before, and I'm saying it again today just because of what's happened in the NBA in the last 24 hours. If you don't know, a couple members in the NBA were arrested by the FBI over gambling in the sport. What happened was that a player started a game and he left 7 or 9 minutes into the game, and at the same time, the bets for him to get an under of his scoring in that game skyrocketed. And because of legalized gambling, the sites were able to see the spike and identified that there was something crazy going on the day it happened. And so now they are arresting them and bringing them in. The other thing that's happened is the one coach was tipping off people to who may start and who he may sit in games to help with the betting. And again, that was all detected by these legalized gambling sites the day it happens because of the spike it shows on their algorithm. But my question to you is, when you see growth in sports, a lot of time gambling is associated with that. When you give people a vested interest in the outcome of live sports, it grows that sport. And we sit around this world and every phone has betting apps that you can download immediately, and you can bet on things. I think CrossFit is tailor-made for prop bets. I know that the Heat One app has dipped their toe in the water, but when you add money, you add a huge vested interest in the outcome of those events. And I think it helps grow the sport because then people have a diehard rooting interest in the outcome of what happens. And now I don't know if like a DraftKings or an ESPN Bet or one of those apps would dive into CrossFit. And I think fantasy sports is another thing that gives vested interests. We play fantasy sports with this stuff. We play the Heat One app, but there's no money at the end of this generally, or no leagues where the winner wins a prize, because we don't have that legalized in a lot of different areas. But it is legalized for like the NFL, NBA, NHL, Major League Baseball. If we could get that to move toward CrossFit, It would give something for people to bet on, and I think that it would increase the viewership by far. And like was shown in the NBA case, you take away the corruption because they can detect when there is a spike in their algorithm to determine if people are trying to cheat and skirt the system. So I really do believe that gambling is a way that would grow the sport. It's thinking outside the box. It's not talked about a lot um, in the space, but I do believe that it is a way that you could grow the sport pretty quickly. Uh, Clock, has Tyler been seen with any Italians recently? I don't know, but he should be. I think that's the way to go. Did I hear that Tyler moved to PA? Lots of Italians in PA. There are. That's where I'm from. He's living in State College, I believe. What else is up here? Um, Gambling in the NBA. I hope they address it on the FanDuel pregame show, brought to you by Bet365, right before the game at DraftKings Arena. Yeah, you know that just shows you, though, Corey, how much money has been brought into the sport because of legalized gambling, and because of that, these apps and these companies are pouring over money to these events and these arenas and these networks to get their name out there because it is a highly competitive business, and it's going to be very, very interesting if it could be pulled off. So I saw that Lito was saying, I think it's Lito, has Luka Djukic on. Pedro has Luka Djukic on next week. I did see that today when I was surfing through the YouTubes. Hopefully, it's a good interview. If anybody can pull that interview off, I think it's going to be Peter, and he always asks the tough questions. So we'll see. Corey Leonard, oh, absolutely. I don't gamble, but I'm in favor of people betting on whatever the hell they want to. Yeah, I really am bad at it. So uh, I put in $25 at the beginning of every NFL season. I sprinkle some bets throughout the year, and I generally lose every one of them. I think I know the sport, but apparently I don't, or it's just how wild and freaky it gets. So I think this is a great point, Frida. They were talking. Where was I talking? I was watching a show last night where they were talking about how many athletes get DM'd because a person lost a bet. Like, if CrossFit athletes think the stuff we say is damning and damaging to them, good God, if we added betting to this, the amount of people that lose and would DM these athletes, holy crap, they wouldn't be able to handle that at all. Um, but yeah, I mean, that's just the way the world is these days. Fantasy sports, people get upset that they started the guy and they didn't do very well, and they DM that athlete. I think as a professional athlete, you almost have to shut yourself off to social media and all of the feedback, or just take it all with a grain of salt. So Jody, so many pods, so little time. I live in the Sevon Hiller Clydesdale bubble. It's a beautiful bubble. We're glad you're here. What is up, Judy Reed? So yeah, I think if you want to grow the sport fast, that is the way to do it. I don't, because it's weird because CrossFit doesn't want to partner with anybody that would be against the methodology of CrossFit, which I completely understand. And I hope that doesn't leak over to something like gambling and the perception that people have had about it in the past. It is legalized now. It's out there for everyone. It's in most of the states. And why not move to a place where people could bet on it and bring more eyes to it? I think prop bets would be cool. Like someone's going for 300 pounds on a clean. Will they hit it? And you could hit a prop bet, yay or nay. It's all there. They do live betting on plays in football, on at bats in baseball. Can you imagine, will this person do this? Vindicate. Gambling, grow the sport, yes. Corrupt the sport, also yes. I think what's happened in the last day and a half has shown that because of the legalized gambling and because the legal betting places don't want to lose money, they are quick to find the cheaters. And I think it's actually making it harder to make it corrupt than when it was unregulated. And if you take a minute at all to look at the FBI documents from the arrests yesterday, they knew the day everything happened that it was a corrupt bet because of all of the data they had in those legalized, regulated betting systems. So while there's corruption in everything, I think that because it is regulated and because it is, and both CrossFit and the betting houses would have the same vested interest. They would want to make it fair betting so that people wouldn't take money from them, and CrossFit would want to have a fair and equal opportunity in their event. Sean in Oregon, when money is involved, all kinds of shenanigans will happen, from corrupt gambling to PEDs, whatever it takes to get the dollar bills. You're right. Again, there's corruption. There's PEDs now, and there's hardly a cent in the sport, right? Unless you win, there's hardly anything you can win. And to risk your reputation on PEDs for the little money that's there, yet people are doing it all the time. Yeah. Agreed. Money makes people crazy. It does. It really does. But I think we already have some crazy people out there. Why not find something that can infuse cash back into this sport? And then maybe, just maybe, so much money that the methodology and the training and the education can take some of that money from that to further what they're doing, as opposed to the opposite. Corey Leonard, within a week, we've had a major jewel heist, a mafia-involved poker ring, and sports gambling corruption. We're living in the 1920s. But you know what we learned from the 1920s? Prohibition doesn't work. Prohibiting it or trying to eliminate it doesn't work either. So the best thing you can do is regulate it and have data to show when things are becoming corrupt immediately. Just saying. I mean, how scary, if you're an NBA player and you now know that DraftKings and Bet365 and ESPN can know immediately if you have tilted the scales on the day you do it, how likely are you now to risk your career and your millions of dollars to try to do that? I'm hoping that these FBI arrests are actually a deterrent for that, as opposed to the thought that this is going to continue and grow. So, we've been in a decade-long era of repression. It might be fading away right now. I'm predicting libertine period coming up, like the Roaring 20s or even the 90s. Okay. Joseph Ramirez, NFL, NHL, and MLB are probably puckered up right now too. Well, if you remember, just a couple years ago, there were like probably 5 to 10 NFL players that were suspended for the season because they bet. And then we've seen none of that for a couple years. So I think like we as Americans quickly forget what has happened and kind of forgive and move on. But there were NFL players, Calvin Ridley, he missed the entire season for betting. There was a couple of Indianapolis Colts, a couple of Detroit Lions that were suspended for an entire season for betting. And not necessarily even betting on football, but betting on the grounds of the team facility, which they do not allow. So I think they all have learned their lesson that that there's too many data points on these apps now, and they are going to get caught. The same issues exist here in Europe as well, both players and referees. Yeah, we had the Tim Donegan thing, the referee in the NBA that fixed games and ended up in prison. So, yeah. But that was bigger when gambling wasn't regulated. And it was offshore betting or under the table betting. How heavy will Otani be watched after what happened with him? My understanding is they did a deep investigation, a deep dive, Joseph, and it found out that he had nothing to do with any of that, that it was his interpreter, manager, whatever it was, that just flat out stole his money and bet with it. So, with that, guys, don't forget Monday. I did see Lito say let's do a 1 o'clock show. But if you leave comments on YouTube, let's see, and maybe I'll do a 1 o'clock show on Monday instead of the noon. And then don't forget next Wednesday at noon, lunch, Caroline Klutz, the woman who kicked ass at Crash from the Masters division, would have finished second in the Elite. We're going to get her perspective live on the show next Wednesday. And then we're going to bump Corey to either Tuesday or Thursday. So, Corey says, dude, just come on whenever you can. No worries. Yeah, I've learned if I stay consistent, we're much better off. But I have no control over this meeting. And it was actually, they tried to hold it yesterday. Key player didn't show up, and so they rescheduled it for Monday at noon, right over my block time on the calendar. So with that, I will be here Sunday night with Carolyn and Jamie, and then back Monday at 1 p.m., it looks like, for lunch with the Clydesdale. And then don't forget, Wednesday, Caroline Klutz. Yes, looks like you are this close to 3K subscribers. You know what's wild? Yesterday, I was 20 away. Throughout the day, I dropped 2 subscribers. I went to 22 away, and now I'm back to 20 away. So we're 20 subscribers away from 3K. Hoping to get to 3K by the end of the year. Tell your friends, like, subscribe, do all those things. It really, truly helps out in the algorithm. With that, guys, time for you to get back to work. I'm going to head back to work, and we'll see everybody next time on Lunch with the Clydesdale. Bye.